State election officials and lawmakers are increasingly concerned over a new automatic recount law that could make for all sorts of election-related delays, that could make for all sorts of election-related problems. And for more on this, we welcome Jen Marson, Executive Director of the Arizona Association of Counties. Jen, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's lay some basics here. This automatic recount law, these changes, what has changed and why is it a concern?
So in 2022, the legislature passed a law that altered the threshold for when recounts are triggered. So now it's more likely that we're going to have recounts more so than we ever have before, not only because of the law, but Arizona's politics seem to be changing in recent years. And because of that, we have to have enough time to deal with recounts if they trigger.
Okay, the time that you had to deal with recounts in the past, has that changed with these new laws?
So here's the thing. When an election happens and then a recount is triggered, we have to do all of the things to wrap up the original election before we can start any of the things associated with the recount. And there are two federal deadlines that we're in jeopardy of missing, one after the primary and one after the general. If we don't condense our existing election calendar to allow enough time for the initial election and the recount to occur, we may miss both of those deadlines.
So what is the legislature doing right now to address these concerns? How far has it gone? And this has to be done like in the next few weeks, does it not?
Yeah, so we've been having conversations since about September in earnest with policymakers, with the governor's office, attorney general, secretary of state. Everybody who is a stakeholder has been part of these conversations. But we are getting to the point where we need to make a decision because one of the solutions on the table is moving the primary. And if we're going to do that, we need to make that decision probably very soon.
Make it soon because you got to get the ballots out, correct?
Well, moving the primary and doing it soon has more to do with making sure we have enough locations to hold the election, because if all the elections that the counties have contracted with so far are for X date. If we change that date, we have to go back and renegotiate and make sure we still have enough voting locations for the new primary date.
And as far as, getting the ballots out after, let's say, the primary, and there's a recount or something goes on there, then you got to get the general election ballots out. You got to have time for that, do you not?
Correct, and that's where the challenge comes in. So federal law says that for our military and overseas voters, they're called UOCAVA voters, it's an acronym, right? For those voters, we have to send them their general election ballot 45 days before the election, September 21st currently. So we would have to have the primary election wrapped up, the recount totally done and canvassed, new ballots for the general wrapped up and sent out to those voters in time.
So moving the primary date August to July, is that doable? What are the problems therein?
It's a big lift, no doubt, right? Everybody's involved. It impacts voters. It impacts candidates. It is doable. We just need to do it soon.
What about, okay, as far as the counties are concerned, are the counties relatively lined up on this? Is there any discouraging word from any county out there?
So as a whole, the county recorders and elections directors have come together and they've been absolutely at the table and part of these conversations about what we need to do. And moving the primary and some of the other solutions that are on the slate, they are agreeing to do those things.
What if military and overseas voters, what if they don't get those ballots? What happens?
That's horrible. Number one, if we send them the wrong ballot by the right deadline, and then we have to send them the right ballot when we get it together,
right.
That's horrible for them. That's confusing. And we want to make sure that they have the ability to return their ballot in time so that their votes count towards the general election.
It's that we talked about moving the primary date back and the problems therein, but it may be necessary. Would it be necessary as well to streamline the process for counting and curing and whatever has to be done with the ballots once the election is supposed to be over?
Absolutely. Most of the things that are on the slate of solutions are administrative things that happen behind the scenes, either at the county level or at the Secretary of State level, to essentially do things faster.
Yeah. So what do you want to see? Lawmakers are, they're scurrying about right now trying to figure this thing out. What do you want to see them do?
We want a clean solution that gives us the number of days that county election experts have said that they need. 19 days in the primary cycle, 17 days post-general, so that we can do all of the things we need to do if recounts are triggered.
Why is that a problem? That's 19 and 17, two numbers right there. What's the problem there?
So we need to condense the existing election calendar. So for example, right now we allow candidates 5 days to proof the ballot. hey, here's the ballot. Is your name spelled right? Are you listed under the right office that you're running for? We don't think it takes 5 days to do that.
Right.
We're going to give them 2 days. We just saved 3 days right there.
But as far as the legislature is concerned, and from what you understand for lawmaking, and the governor's office as well, which has to, has to agree to this too.
Yeah.
What is the problem? Why did you just told me the answer to the problem? Who's saying no and why?
So I think that there are 3 main sticking points in the negotiations right now. Moving the primary is a big lift, and there are some legislators that have a challenge with that. The governor's office has some concerns with moving the cure, which is a date by which people can come and cure a ballot that has a bad signature post-election day, right? And I think the third point is just the nature of politics. Whenever you have an issue this big, both sides of it sort of want to put other pieces of legislation inside, and so we're just talking through which one of those pieces are palatable, signable by the governor, for example, doable by the counties.
And last, I kind of touched on this earlier, but again, if nothing gets done, if it's a complete gridlock and the whole thing just goes down the toilet, what happens?
Well, we will be disenfranchising our military and overseas voters, quite likely. We certainly don't want to do that. And then post-general election, Arizona's votes for president are in danger of not being counted.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, that'll be a lot of fun. Jen Marson, Arizona Association. And again, the counties are all on board in this. You don't have too much discrepancy there.
That's correct.
But it's getting the legislature and the governor on board.
Well, and making sure that the solution that they put forward is also something that we can do.
Yeah. All right, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Good information.
Thank you so much.